Scott just made the point.
Seems to be a lot more secure, not just.
Well, nearly 8 years of Obama administration sleaze, corruption, selective prosecution of conservatives, and all the rest has not just left Republicans disgusted with the system. The Democratic ranks are also alive, but they're inverse spelling of the same charge. So while the Democrats feel that the system is rigged or being rigged to protect frontrunner Hillary Clinton from a revving and surging Bernie Sanders, on the Republican side, the charge is that the party establishment is not trying to protect their frontrunner, but in fact to do everything they can to defeat him by whatever means necessary. So let's bring in Steve Green and Scott Ott to see if we can peel into this GOP mess. And as before, we'll hold off on the Democrats because I think that's going to get very much more interesting not too long from now. So, gentlemen, Donald Trump and his supporters have been saying that the GOP is changing the rules and they're using underhanded methods and backroom deals. In other words, they're cheating to deprive Republicans of Donald Trump. Now, to be fair, these are often the same GOP establishment elite voices that didn't stop Obama when we took the House in 2010, and they didn't stop him again when we took the Senate in 2014. Republican anger at the Republican establishment's at a fever pitch, and I'm part of it. But one man, not a pundit, just a regular guy, kind of summed up how many, many millions of Republicans feel in all of this right about this time.
I think you're going to see a whole lot more of these. I've been a Republican all my life, but I will never be a Republican again. You know, what do you think is going to happen when millions more like me do the exact same thing?
That was his Republican registration form that he was burning there. Yeah, there's a lot of anger out there. So, Steve, let's start with you. You live in Colorado. A few days ago, Drudge had a series of headlines that virtually said that the GOP establishment canceled the Republican primary in Colorado and just assigned the delegates to Ted Cruz. Can you clear us up a little bit about this? Are there actually votes, or were there actually votes being stolen in Colorado?
Yeah, I want Donald Trump and his internet thugs to stop lying about what happened in Colorado. Do you know how many delegates have been chosen by the voters in Colorado, by Republican voters in Colorado, through our fairly short history of having a statewide caucus? Zero. None. Not one ever has been selected by popular vote. And the reason is we had this two-stage thing. We had a beauty contest vote. You go to your polling place and you mark which candidate you want. But it was purely a beauty contest, and the idea was to give delegates, potential delegates, an idea of where popular support was in the state of Colorado. But it was non-binding. It didn't mean a thing other than what any individual delegate took it to mean. And then we would have the state convention, which, as Scott described in my segment this week, is really a truly grassroots effort. Now, Donald Trump didn't come to Colorado. Donald Trump did not come here. He had no operation here. He didn't come to the convention. He didn't glad hand our delegates. And you know what? And he's lying about our delegates. These are not, tuxedo-wearing, cigar-chomping insiders. This is the retired Air Force officer down the street. This is the concerned mom. This is the guy with the plumbing business that comes to your house when you got a problem with your toilet. The people who do the boring, hard, difficult, doorbell-pushing, unpaid, unloved work of building a party from the ground up. And Donald Trump is lying about these good people, these hardworking people. I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats. He's lying about who they are. He's lying about what they are to cover up the fact that he's got no ground game. He never has, and he's got to shut that diarrhea-spewing hole on his face that he calls a mouth.
Well, now. Tell us how you really feel about this, Steve.
There you go.
Scott, as one of those tuxedo-wearing, cigar-chomping inside elitists, I'm worried about what I'm usually worried about, which is the optics and the messaging, all of this. Now, whether it's true or not, a narrative is being written that backroom deals are stealing the nomination of Donald Trump. I've seen this attacks on George Bush and Mitt Romney, and I also saw him in Nazi Germany, for that matter. And the problem is, if you tell the same story loud enough and often enough, true or not, people begin to perceive it as a truth. Right, Scotty?
Well, and not only that, but in the mainstream media, there is a great desire for scandals, obviously, because that attracts eyeballs, that gets people to watch TV, read newspapers, go to websites, or whatever. And so it's a much more, the story that Donald Trump is telling is a much more compelling and interesting story than the boring Ted Cruz story, which is our people in Colorado did the work on the ground to get support for delegates who were backing Ted Cruz. That's dull. The exciting story is scandal. Something is not going right. American people are being ripped off. And it doesn't matter that it's a big fat lie because, as I learned in journalism school, most journalists are lazy. If you do not feed the story to them on the end of a spoon, they will not do the work required to find out whether it's true or not. Now, the saving grace here is that even though Drudge, who's clearly in the tank for Donald Trump, is putting out these big headlines, and those get picked up and echoed by the what's turned out to be hundreds of Trump bot Twitter accounts that Patrick Ruffini has unearthed. Even though all that's happening, it is the internet. And so it is a free marketplace of ideas, and there are a lot of people out there who are telling the truth. The challenge becomes, how do you tell the truth in a sexy manner? How do you tell the truth in a way that gets people to go, ooh, really? So we've got to figure out how to make integrity sound sleazy and scandalous.
I think it was Mark Twain who said, a lie can circle the earth in the time it takes the truth to put on its shoes. It's really true. Look, here's the problem. I can see and hear and feel this story being built before my eyes and my ears. Trump, who just a short time ago looked to everyone's amazement as though he was going to clinch this thing and clinch it early, but a series of very bad weeks for the Donald has raised the possibility that he may go into an open GOP convention with the lead, but not enough votes to win on the first ballot. Now, after that first vote, the delegates can switch to Cruz or anyone else, I suppose, and I can't help but feel that this kind of "they stole the nomination from us" narrative is being spun by Trump and his supporters. He's kind of preparing the moral and ethical battle space for a third-party run if the nomination goes elsewhere. It's just a guess, but it seems reasonable to me. For BJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.